Honorable Minority Leader, the Honorable Richard Achampon caught the eye of the Speaker. I can't overrule that. So allow him to have his say. After that, I'll come to your side. Yes, you insist. Honorable Member, Honorable Member, Honorable Richard Achampon, Deputy Minister, just a minute. Just a minute. Yes, what is it you have to say?
Mr. Speaker, we have submitted a list.
Honorable Member, we've gone past this. The list you submit is a guide. It's a guide. The Speaker is not compelled to follow the list that you submit. We have gone past this. Yes, Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, with respect. Mr. Speaker, if the very act of the first Deputy Speaker, which gave rise to the controversy, is allowed to stay, what it means is that then we are back to square one. Mr. Speaker, yes. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, the practice that I know when it comes to debate is that when you take one on one side, you take the other. Mr. Speaker, you just quoted Article 296 of the Constitution. Yes, the discretion to recognize is within your bosom, and that you have just interpreted 296. Mr. Speaker, the order of recognition, as I know, is that when one is called, the other is also recognized. Mr. Speaker, as you've been told, Rickett moved the motion. They didn't allow the other side to second. It came from this side. Adongo has had his say. Abner was up, and then the majority leader insisted that they should call. Yes, we know what is going on here. We know. You signal that Achampo should be called. Mr. Speaker, what is happening? It's unfair to her. It's very dangerous. A certain precedent is being set. We need to have our turn. It cannot be that they have two continuous speakers. Adongo has spoken. At least our side must speak. Then we do it in turn. What is wrong? Mr. Speaker, I would submit that in the circumstance we find ourselves now, Mr. Speaker, giving us the next opportunity to speak after Adongo would be most appropriate in the circumstance, because you've just made your ruling. But to still go ahead to recognize Honorable Achampon, Mr. Speaker, would render odious all the arguments we've made thus far.
Former Finance Minister Amin Adams it has a strong warning at the former President Mahama say when you're not on a timetable for doom son and famra. Aside that, no so Ɔsɛ sisi ano Mahama ne din foforɔ a yɛde ama no yɛ Terminator 1. Na Terminator 1 yi ase kyerɛ ɛne sɛn? Straight up, without wasting my time, let's go and listen to
achieving load shedding
Amin
timetable
Adams.
despite public demands for it because the general elections were close. Yet, the Ghanaian people knew Dumso had not ended because they lived with it and continued to suffer from it. Mr. President, you did not fix Dumso as you claimed in your address. Your record on Dumso is abysmal, unlike your predecessor, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, who kept the lights on. As we are back to Dumso in another Mahama term, Ghanaians remember with fear and anxiety the potential devastation this could cause for them and their businesses, especially small businesses like hair salons, welders, dressmakers, and many more who earn their daily bread from these vocations. Many people and businesses have already felt the pinch and the pain of living with the current Dumso. We have also seen the return of electric generating sets in shops, in clinics, and at social events. Mr. President, this is the true state of our nation and not what you presented to Parliament. To ameliorate the impact of these erratic power challenges, we, the mighty minority, call on the government to publish a load shedding timetable today to help people and businesses plan effectively to offset some of the losses the economy is currently suffering from. On the petroleum sector, the record will show that production of crude oil has declined because President Mahama signed contracts with 13 companies, most of which, in fact, all of which, had no technical or financial capacity to undertake oil activity. However, President Akufo-Addo administration rather introduced measures for aggressive reserve replacement on assumption of office in 2017. As a result of these measures, between 2018 and 2022, 7 discoveries of crude oil were made. Ladies and gentlemen, as industry watchers know, the COVID-19 pandemic slowed down operations across the oil industry in the world, which affected the appraisal of these discoveries in Ghana. To incentivize these companies, the then government, the Akufo-Addo government, took the decision to restore their lost time to them. Several amendments were also made to the existing frameworks to provide further incentives to the industry. The MPP government could therefore not be accused of creating a hostile business climate and excessive political interference in the words of President Mahama. The MPP administration also added to crude oil production with the coming on stream of Jubilee Southeast in September 2023, which added 30,000 barrels of oil per day to production from the Jubilee field, thereby taking production from the field to 100,000 barrels of oil per day. Ladies and gentlemen, we are alarmed at the risk of these power challenges, reversing the economic turnaround in Ghana, as evidenced by the resurgent economic growth achieved last year. The dangers to economic growth are very visible for us to see. There is no reliable power supply now. Investors are being turned away by a government that is baselessly painting a bad picture of its own economy. And contractors are not being paid, despite the 68 billion Ghana cedis approved by Parliament for the government to spend in the first quarter of the year. And notwithstanding the significant amount of revenue at their disposal to meet these spending requirements, including, for example, the over 5 billion Ghana cedis buffer left for them, the 8.7 billion Ghana cedis collected by Ghana Revenue Authority for January 2025 alone, and about 67 billion Ghana cedis borrowed in less than 2 months. Many government projects have halted as a result, and the resultant job losses by young Ghanaians is very painful and unfortunate. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, the prospects for growth, economic growth, in this first quarter of 2025 remain weak and sluggish. and the government must change its economic management strategy as soon as possible. The Mahama administration made a lot of political gains by highlighting the plight of young Ghanaians who were yet to get jobs after over 2 million others had gotten jobs in the 8 years of the MPP administration. They promised 2 more people for each job under the 24-hour economy program. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now a notorious fact that to create vacancies for the purpose of employing NDC youth, the Mahama administration has sacked thousands of young Ghanaians who had been properly employed by the previous administration. The termination of the jobs of young Ghanaians, which has become synonymous with Mr. President Mahama, who we now prefer to call Terminator 1, is a sign of what is yet to come. Sacking people from employment and replacing them later with others does not amount to job creation. What the people of Ghana want are new jobs for those yet to be employed. President Mahama knows that the programs he outlined in his statement, Nkoko, Nkitinkiti, and the rest, cannot create